Why aren't you doing it in fitness? Why are you paying membership fees? Why are you not turning up? And why are you ultimately, and this is what kills me, not looking after yourself in health and wellness? Gym or not, don't let yourself go, people. What we try to do with Pass for Class is reverse what we know is happening in people's lives more often than not. And you know what's happening more than anything in people's lives these days? You're sitting down far too long. The current stats are, on average, people are sat for 13 hours a day. That's inclusive of work time and then sedentary time. You're sitting down on average anywhere between 2 to 6 hours a night at your leisure, watching TV or whatever else is going on. But ultimately, we're shutting our bodies down. What are we made to do? We're made to stand up, and we're made to get about. Whatever that is, running, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you're made to be up and moving, not made to be sitting. So if we're spending that much time in a sat position every day, this is where we start and we explain how you're shutting down. So if in the situation that you're an office worker, for example, or you're working in front, generally speaking, let's take our stick man that I go through with everybody and put him in a seat and see exactly what's happening. That's you at the computer. If you're a computer worker, if you're desk bound, whatever it is, you're working reception at a hotel, whatever, that's your life. May or may not be standing up. Some of these new standing desks are great, so kudos to those people getting those things in place. But generally speaking, you'll be still up and down, because any consistent behaviour within the body, sat, standing, whatever, is going to make you a little bit awkward, and you're going to need to move about. So what's happening here is we're getting tight in hamstrings, we're getting tight in hip flexors, the glutes, which are responsible for standing us up and having our hips come forward, or extension in the hips, are being isolated, shut down for that huge amount of time. And not only this, posturally we're not great, okay? We're working in front, the shoulders, and posterior chain through the back of the neck, etc., are all deteriorating, and our postures are starting to slouch. What happens as a general rule, we get tighter and shorter in the front and longer and weaker in the back as we slouch. So we lose that ability to stand tall, and what it does is put more pressure on erector spinae groups, etc., which are there to what? Erector spinae, hold our spine up nice and strong. So if we're spending 13 plus hours a day here, then getting home to chill out on the couch and adding another, say, 2 to it, all of a sudden we whack in a sleep, and we're not really up and about and working the way we should be very often through that 24-hour block. So let's have a think about this posterior chain. I'm going to rub that off. And now what happens when we're not sat down? We want to play. We want to enjoy our life. We want to get out and about. You may be a gardener. You may be wanting to play with the kids, kick the footy, play sport, OzTag, whatever it is for you on the weekends or through the week. And what do we need to do for that? We can't sit down. We need to be stood up. So we're up now. But what haven't we used for 80 odd hours a week? Our whole posterior chain, I should say, I don't know why I keep saying posterior chain, but the whole backside of muscle groups have been turned off. Now we're asking our body to do things that we haven't asked it all week, or we go to OzTag on Wednesday night, we don't go with any warm-up, we maybe have 1 or 2 beers in and around the kickoff and half-time and whatever else is going on, and all of a sudden you're asking your body to perform in a manner that you haven't asked it to do all week, and potentially it goes kabang and everything goes wrong. Our glutes that were switched off at the desk are now responsible for keeping us up and keeping us at extension, so the hips coming through the front. Our tight hamstrings are now responsible for power generation and distribution of movement, I guess, through the lower half and into those glutes that aren't working. And we're also asking our posture to stay up nice and tall and be nice and strong, where it's been sagging all week. The head's been here, the hands have been here, and everything is set up to be wrong in now an active situation. We're tight through those hip flexors. It puts a lot of pressure on our lower back, etc., and the weak glutes aren't a good filter for the power that we're generating through the bottom half. And there's a distribution of load or forces in the body that is out of whack. So ultimately, what do we do at Fit to Function to rectify this? We need to be building these glutes. We need to be working on things that are asking your body to work efficiently in holding itself up. Erector spinae, etc. may or may not be at that point yet where you can do things like bent over rows or deadlifts proficiently, depending on things like tight hamstrings, etc. And we're asking your body to get better in these areas, so then we can move on with progressions. So we're looking to focus in on posterior chain, doing a lot of rear deltoid, rhomboid, the muscles in between the shoulder blades, etc., to make sure our postures are righted, or corrected, I should say. Our glutes are strengthened, our hammies are more flexible, and we're also working on mobility through the hip flexors, etc. You need this approach. You can't be spending a majority of your time in and around a workplace that's not conducive with you living and then expecting to come out and your body hold itself together. You may or may not have already suffered injury in regards to some of these things. If you have, you need that right advice. And if you have, you need to be laying down a training platform or some sort of progressive overload into rectifying some of this. There's no good staying safe with it. One of the best things you can do is walk and run. So if nothing else, go out and improve on your gait and keep those hips moving and keep movement through what is the connection between the lower and upper half of the body. But if you're sitting back on the sidelines thinking that you don't have a place here, it's not you. It's been the approach to your circumstance that hasn't been right. And it needs to change. The offerings in fitness need to change. If we can help, if you have any questions, hit us up on direct messages. Otherwise, drop in and see us one day if you'd like to find out a little bit more that is specific to you. There is no one size fits all. And I say it to everybody in here, and you'll hear it come out of their own mouths. You do you. You need a space that is encouraging of you alone, and you need an opportunity to find out your start point for you alone, not for pressures, not for keeping up, not for impressing, none of it. You need to be doing yourself a favour in all things health, movement and lifestyle. I hope you're being good to yourself so you can be amazing to other people, and hopefully you take yourself a little bit more legit and we see you real soon.